Hey everyone, it's Mike Andy's Landscape Business Course. Today we're in Ferndale, Washington, where we have Command Center for the franchisees. But today I'm going to be talking about one versus two-man crews, or maybe you have 3 or 4-man crews. And so this is a big debate. Should you have solo crews? Should you have 3 people on a truck? Should you have 2, etc.? I'm going to kind of give you my opinion and why I think a certain way. So in my opinion, whether or not you should have 1 person on a truck or 2 people or 3 or more really comes down to the size of your properties and the amount of equipment that you have on that route. If I have a full-ton pickup truck with a 20-foot enclosed trailer and 3 big zero turns on that trailer, I'm definitely not going to be solo routes. If I'm spending $100,000 on that setup by the time I include my truck, a trailer, all the mowers, the equipment, if I'm spending that much money per setup, it's extremely unlikely and unprofitable for me to do solo routes. The reason for that is because I'd much rather you spend that, $50,000 of that $100,000 on marketing, grow the business, instead of spending so much capital to be able to do solo routes. So on those big setups, when you're usually going to be doing bigger properties, you're going to be parking at the same place and spending 2, 3 hours, 4 hours mowing a commercial property or a big estate that's residential perhaps, that's when I would recommend getting 2 or 3 people on the truck. Now, the more stops that you have in a day, the more visits to properties, the more waste you have, the more people you have. All right, so if I have that same setup, that is $100,000 worth of a setup, has 3 people in the truck and has big zero turns and all the rest of it. If I am constantly starting and stopping that truck and I am going from job to job to job, every time the crew gets in and out, there's waste when you have more than 1 person. So in my opinion, the higher the cost of the setup, all the equipment, the trucks, the trailer, all the rest of it, more likely you're going to have multiple people in the truck. Also, more visits you have on your route, usually smaller properties, you have 20, 30 jobs in a day sometimes, that's gonna be more likely to be more efficient with 1 person. Okay, now if you're using P for P, that's when solo routes actually even make sense. Because if you're just paying people by the hour, it's much better to have 2 or 3 people in a truck because they're gonna hold each other accountable, and then just from the sake of morale, they're going to help each other get through the day. They're gonna be more safe having 2 sets of eyes on the property in terms of quality control. But when you use P for P, pay for performance, and they're not using an hourly rate, they make more money per hour because they're more efficient. Because think about it, if you have 2 people in a truck, there's very rarely a time when everyone's gonna finish mowing and the other guy weed whacking at the exact same time. They're always waiting just a few minutes here or there for that other person. And so that's where the inherent inefficiencies of having multiple people on a truck, that's where it comes into play. So in short, if you have a lot of small residential properties that you are servicing and you're using P for P, that's the only time I would recommend having only 1 person on the crew, because they, with P for P, can actually make more per hour and are more efficient, and therefore they can make more money. Otherwise, most people want to be with someone else. They like to be, from a morale standpoint, be with another crew member, have someone to bounce things off of. Like I said, it's more safe, and traditionally they're going to keep each other accountable more toward the work that's being done and not slack off. But if you're on P for P, you're doing small residential properties, you don't have a massive mower setup and truck and $100,000 on the setup, definitely solo routes is definitely something that's going to make you more money. If you're going to be able to get a whole truck, all the equipment necessary for a small residential mowing type of a route for under $20,000, that's when it makes a lot of sense to be able to do solo routes. Because I'd rather spend $20,000 per setup and get 5 setups than 1 setup with a massive truck, a massive trailer, a whole bunch of equipment. That's where you can really start to make money, and when you're P for P, your employees can make more money. Thanks so much, everyone. I'm Mike Andy's LandscapeBusinessCourse.com. We'll see you next time.